Hey filmmaker, Chung here. Here we have the Canon C100 Mark II. This is my own personal camera that I have bought several years ago. And this is a very nice cinema camera, but we're going to talk about if this still is a viable camera for 2020. I have to say, it really depends on what you are going to use it for, because if you're going to make movies with it, it is really dependable on your own wants. If you're thinking about working on film jobs, this might not be that great of a thing, because a lot of people right now be looking at a lot of new cameras, even looking at like Pocket 6K, Pocket 4K, the Z-Cam, a lot of the newer cinema cameras that has like the higher resolution, and they would feel like, oh, this will be too old for what they want to achieve with. In reality, the quality of the footage of this isn't that bad, because the sensor of here is 4K sensor, but it scales it down to 1080p, which gives you a super sharp with a super good detail for our 1080p footage. But for a lot of filmmakers, they would feel like that the codec is basically the main drawback. So this will have like a 8-bit 420 with, if you're filming 50p, it's 35 megabytes per second, and if you're filming like 25p, it's like 28. So it's not like really high bit rates, nor is it like 10 bits. So if you are doing heavy grading on it, the footage might fall apart. However, it is really dependable how your grading is, and if you're going to use the footage for a lot of special effects, you might want to rather go for something that is 4K. And even though this camera has a lot of things going for it, I do feel like trying to get like jobs with this camera might not be that easy, unless the person or the people you're working with are still looking at these kind of cameras. Because there was one director who asked me about my cameras, and he saw or heard in the list that I had like a C100 and really wanted to work or do that short film with a C100, while I have a Z-Cam that has like Z-RAW and 4K 120 frames per second or 160 frames per second. That is like a whole new kind of camera. But there are of course certain kind of benefits with the C100 Mark II though. The C100 Mark II of course have the built-in ND filter, so it makes it easier to just quickly change your exposure to the correct settings without having to screw an ND filter on the front. There is something you do need to know about the camera's ISO performances. So above or 850 or above, the dynamic range is actually much better than anything under the 850. So for if you are going to film, you do need to like always keep your ISO on 850 or go above it. So during the daytime outside, definitely to do 850 ISO, you definitely need to use the full ND. And sometimes even at night with street lights, sometimes still like 850 is very bright, and you might still need to use like ND1 even at night. So the ND is of course a very useful feature. Other things is this camera, the C100 Mark II, have dual pixel autofocus, so it can autofocus on its own. And if you are going to use this on a gimbal or a Steadicam, it can autofocus and do it in a really good way, and really follows people, and get like a nice shot with it without you having to manual focus with it. And this for Steadicam operation, it is possible to break it down to make it quite small, so you can remove these top grip, and also the side grip is also removable. This side grip also can be angled in the way that you want, but like, yeah, for gimbal use you can remove it and make it a quite nice small package. And you do have like EF lenses that are pancakes that you can put on your camera to make everything even smaller to use it on like a gimbal. But the 1835 on certain gimbals they work, but you still have like this limitation that it's quite a thick camera though. And also the, yeah, one thing is the EVF on here, it is really not that great. Honestly, you can use it, but you kind of see that you're looking at a small screen. It's not like feeling that you're looking at an EVF that is really filling the entire loop that you're looking through, compared to if you're used to a mirrorless camera, and those you can see through it, you can feel that you're looking at like a big screen inside of it, but this you feel like you're looking at something really small. Other really great benefit of the C100 is that you can zoom in while you're recording. You can do a digital zoom and yeah, check for focus. So that is really nice compared to certain camera brands that don't have this feature. Yeah, overall, yeah, have a flip out screen so you can film yourself with, and yeah, of course also the battery, using the BP battery that's so-called intelligent. You can get like really nice long recordings with it. Yeah, a lot of long hours. It has dual SD card slots, so yeah, quite inexpensive medium, and yeah, it can record to one or to the other, yeah, relay or both of them. So yeah, overall it is still a nice camera, but I do feel like trying to get like jobs for it, especially short film jobs, will be difficult. Filming actual jobs with it is still, a lot of jobs are still 1080p. There are jobs coming up that are more 4K required, and I see it also more happening. But still, you can film a wedding in 1080p because a lot of weddings still like require either 1080p videos, or even some still ask for a DVD. Well, I'm not quite sure why, because yeah, certain people might still have a DVD player, even though I don't have a DVD burner here. Yeah, other things is like, yeah, the footage of it is actually not that bad. I feel like this video is now being uploaded in 4K, and you can actually see the footage of it being upscaled to 4K, so you can see for yourself that does the footage actually looks 4K, or does it looks like soft uploaded or upscaled 1080p. So you can decide for yourself if the footage is really enough for like yeah, still for 4K kind of use. And yeah, overall, using this for live streaming, it has its weird caveats. So if you're doing this for live stream, I advise you to use yeah, Blackmagic kind of live stream devices, like the yeah, Blackmagic Mini recorder and the Atom Mini, because when you connect this to that, you actually get like much more proper signal that is actually proper 1080p. However, if you connect this throughout something else, or connect a wireless HDMI in between it, like the HoloLens or the Vexus, it will convert the signal to 1080i, so it will be interlaced. It will be very noticeable in movements that there is interlacing going on. So yeah, this has a certain odd things that goes on. However, if you directly straight cable it to the Atom Mini, it doesn't have those interlacing. But yeah, it is actually a nice camera to use for like live streams, especially it having those autofocus features, so you don't have to worry to manual focus a lot. And yeah, it being a Canon camera, yeah, it is of course well known being a cinema camera, but yeah, it is just outdated for doing a lot of job where people ask you for a specific camera though. But for a lot of other jobs, I would say it is still usable, but it has its own caveats for certain things though. So if you are into heavy grading, it really depends on your grading, because like grading can mean just changing the colors a little bit, but certain grading can destroy your footage quite a lot. But overall, working with this camera is actually very nice. It is very nice to handheld. Also, if you are going to use this camera handheld, it does not have any built-in stabilization. It doesn't have IBIS on it, but there are of course Canon lenses that has like stabilization from like the Canon 2405. That stabilization is really nice. It gets you really stable footages, but you also have from Tamron really crazy stabilizations going on. I would say that there are certain EF lenses that have like a very drifty kind of stabilizations. Those you want to avoid. But yeah, if you are going to shoot with this camera, one thing I feel like that is really good to do is to have one hand on the grip and the other hand actually holding the lens itself, and that way to stabilize it. Don't try to hold the camera up against your chest, because your breathing will actually cause it to shake, but just hold it slightly in front of you. Tuck in your arms into your armpit, and just hold it in front of you, holding the lens and the grip. It will give you quite nice stable footage with it. Overall, do I feel like this camera still is usable in 2020? It is yes and no. Of course, for actual filmmaking jobs, there might be less ask for this camera still. However, for events, for weddings, a lot of things that are still under like your own control of choice of camera, this is like a nice camera to use. And of course, if your job doesn't really require any 4K and just 1080p, this is of course a nice camera to have. However, if you can really actually get away upscaling the 1080p, it's really your own choice. Looking at the footage here, you can comment it below. Can you really still get away with the footage in 1080p? So that was mainly it. Hope you found this a very interesting video. If there's any questions, comment it in the comment section here below. And if you are new to this channel, make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. And if you want to see more videos like this, there'll be videos popping up that you can click on. And hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.